Ladies, gentlemen, and NBs, this has been one of the craziest videos I've ever had to make. Now, I was minding my business streaming Resident Evil 4 when one of the goats in my chat informed me of a tweet. Said tweet revealed that Capcom is trying to take down YouTube videos that feature mods, and they're using YouTube's absurdly stupid copyright system to do it. Now, that news sounds insane enough, but as a Capcom YouTuber, I've been digging into this whole thing just to see if I can cover my own ass. And I'm here to tell you that is nowhere close to the full story. What you may have heard about this, it's not even the tip of the iceberg. You know the iceberg meme? What you've heard is up in blue skies. And below all that is the crazier shit. There's people spreading misinformation. There's insane conspiracy theories. There's a video game gone rogue and corrupting people's save files. There's even infighting about what's happening inside of Capcom. Now, even though this is a very crazy story, I want to start by telling you that this is nothing to stress about. If you make Capcom videos, you're perfectly fine. And if you're a Capcom modder, this video will explain why Capcom actually doesn't hate mods, despite what you may believe. So before we begin, I want you to take a big sigh of relief and watch this video not out of fear, but out of fascination. In this video, I'm going to explain where the story both begins and ends, what it realistically means for all Capcom fans, and who's actually going to reap the wrath of Capcom. Spoiler alert, it's a lot less people than you think. Now, about a month ago, a big Monster Hunter YouTube channel named Team Darkside posted on their community page. And this community post has a lot of Monster Hunter fans terrified right now. I'll link the Team Darkside post so you can read it all for yourself. And I highly encourage that you do so. Team Darkside starts the post by stating that they have been struck by a copyright strike from YouTube, dished out due to a copyright takedown notice from Capcom. And they attach a screenshot in the post showing this email. Now, the email itself doesn't say it's explicitly because of mods, but from my personal experience, when you get any sort of strike on YouTube, you can log into Creator Studio and it shows you what content you posted that resulted in that strike. This can be a link, a video, a community post, your IP address, which I'm about to reveal on screen right now. So even though the email isn't very clear, we can have confidence that Team Darkside knows their videos were taken down because of mods, which actually segues us into the next part of their post. They state that they have gotten these strikes because they linked Monster Hunter Rise mods in the description of their videos. Now, that sounds really scary. Think of all the Capcom videos you've seen where people have linked to mods they've used in the description. I'm actually guilty of this myself, but I'm not scared of this whatsoever, and we'll go over why later in the video. Team Darkside goes on to explain the logistics of why they use mods in their videos. For many creators like TDS, mods can be an extremely helpful tool to have for making videos, especially for games like Monster Hunter, which can be very RNG heavy. Because of that, they make it a point to transparently disclose the use of mods, since they showcase gameplay that isn't possible in the vanilla version. Now, you and I, as the incredibly talented gamers who never get tilted in Monster Hunter, can understand and appreciate how noble a cause this is. But if we flip to the perspective of a large corporation who owns a successful multiplayer franchise, yeah, a lot of the mods Team Darkside use could technically be considered cheating. Now, it is morally correct cheating. It's cheating in a way that brings your average Monster Hunter fan really useful information. But yes, this is altering the game. Keep what I said in mind, because that's one detail that plays a pivotal role later in this video. Write it down if you have to. Team Darkside discusses how they think when used carelessly, these mods could do lasting harm to the Monster Hunter community, and they say this for very good reason. Monster Hunter Rise has some of the most advanced mods out of all of the RE Engine games. One scroll down Nexus and the mods you'll see are legitimately ridiculous. And I'm not just talking about the Milk Mountains that I definitely did not download. We're talking entire new gameplay mechanics. This also plays a bigger role later in this video. Get your thinking muscles ready. The last really interesting detail is that Team Darkside mentions that Capcom's community manager is working with creators who have been impacted. They don't explicitly say who, but if I had to wager a guess, it's most likely Andy Wong, who's the community manager for Capcom USA. Wait a minute, Rainin. Didn't you just say Capcom is trying to take down these videos? Why is there a Capcom employee helping creators with this? Doesn't that directly contradict what they're trying to do here? Well, that's when I doubled back and noticed something. All throughout this post, Team Darkside states on repeat, Capcom of Japan's legal team. Capcom USA is probably scratching their heads wondering what the fuck is even going on. I'm telling you, this story just keeps getting more and more fascinating. But presumably, Andy Wong is working with people to reverse these strikes and come to some sort of compromise with Capcom Japan. So if you're a creator who's been hit by this whole ordeal, I'll leave his Twitter down below so you can contact him and hopefully he can help you out. At the very least, point you to the person to talk to. I can't promise he'll do anything or if I'm even referring you to the right guy, but I'm sure he'll be eager to help in whatever way he can. You can also email ip@capcom.com apparently, but once again, I can't guarantee anything. I do hope whoever's had a target painted on them by Capcom Japan can bounce back, because copyright strikes are a massive punishment here on YouTube. We're talking you get 3 and your channel is gone forever, and some of these channels are people's entire life's work. Now, are a lot of them just video game characters in skimpy clothing? Yeah. Just yeah, there's no follow-up question. But that spells the end of Team Darkside's posts, so where do we go from here? Well, I found a tweet from Super Rad Lemon where he shares a copyright strike a friend of his got, and looking at the provided screenshot, I keenly noticed that this was once again Monster Hunter Rise. But Super Rad claims there's 10 plus cases confirmed further in the Twitter thread. I understand he's trying to avoid doxing people, but I would have loved to see these other copyright strike emails because I have one burning question. Is this just Monster Hunter videos? And this is where the bulk of my investigating started. This part's gonna get a little lengthy, so to make sure my audience of degenerates like me are able to pay attention, I've decided to utilize my ultimate weapon, Fortnite Chun-Li.
Vladimir Putin, you better be scared.
Here's where we delve into the misinformation that you've heard about this situation. I'm spitting fucking bars, bro. I set out to find one case where this has happened to a Resident Evil, a Monster Hunter World, or a Street Fighter creator, and I haven't been able to find a single one. It's certainly possible all that Modelo is doing the thinking for me, but I don't know, man. I'm supposed to believe that metric tons of YouTube creators who've poured their entire lives into their YouTube channels got a strike or were completely wiped off the website, and not one of these people made a tweet about it. It just doesn't add up. I've seen people claim that Resident Evil and Street Fighter videos were hit by this, and maybe they have been, but they provide zero elaboration as to who got shot. And this has been one of the most frustrating videos I've ever had to make, because 99% of the info I can find are just people on Twitter saying stuff for the sake of saying stuff. I was frankly fed up with Twitter, if you couldn't tell, so I went into 2 major Resident Evil Discord servers and asked one question. Hey, you guys know those Monster Hunter videos getting taken down? Have you ever seen a Resident Evil creator get a takedown like that? Okay, I guess that was 2. I'm lucky if anyone even knows what the fuck I'm talking about. If there's anyone who watches Resident Evil content on YouTube, it would be the type of people who are on Resident Evil social media, right? I'm not insane, am I? Actually, yeah, I am. I probably am. If this was such a massive problem plaguing our community and threatening our existence, how come no creators are talking about this? Why is it only the weirdos on Twitter? It's probably because this whole situation is blown out of proportion. I then Googled this entire thing too, but all I can find is Monster Hunter Rise. So I can at the very least say that I myself am not aware of any RE creators being hit by this. And guys, don't even get me started on Street Fighter, okay? I'm supposed to believe that Capcom is targeting YouTube videos featuring mods when I search up one Ryu combo video and immediately my recommendations get completely flooded with characters in bikinis, if even that. Actually, Street Fighter happens to segue us into everyone's #1 scapegoat. A lot of people speculate that this is all happening because someone used a Chun-Li nude mod during a Street Fighter 6 tournament. And I'm gonna say that this is very flawed reasoning. If this really is because of the Chun-Li nude mod damaging Capcom's reputation, why are they going after Monster Hunter videos and not the thousands upon thousands of videos of Street Fighter characters looking like they've never even heard of clothes before? The evidence needed to come to this conclusion is incomplete. And that's when people point to this video by Capcom RND and tell me that Capcom now has a no modding policy. I've done my research on this too. Ladies, gentlemen, and envies, this policy does not exist. If it did, it would exist in Capcom Capcom's video policy. And I can tell you firsthand that there is no stipulation that says you cannot use mods in videos. As a matter of fact, this document makes statements that contradict what Capcom of Japan is doing. Under the rules that Capcom has provided themselves, these videos they're taking down should be fair game because they're not distributing Capcom made assets, they're not being promoted as official Capcom content, and if you really wanted to, though I'll wish you luck with it in court, you could argue all of these mod videos are transformative, but the most important thing to remember is that there is nothing in Capcom's policies that explicitly say that you cannot use mods. They do mention mods, and there's a few statements in there that get really close, but what they ultimately mean is that you cannot feature mods that are objectionable or offensive, and you cannot use Capcom video material to create mods, but using them, absolutely fair game. Well, Rainin, how is Capcom removing these videos then? Well, it's because Capcom has a clause in their video policy that allows them to remove anything in their discretion. Businesses do this all the time, but while Capcom can take down videos for using mods, no, there is no anti-modding policy from Capcom. It literally does not exist. And here's the other kicker. I mentioned a Capcom RND video that people point to as proof of this no modding policy. Now, I can't blame anyone for not noticing this because the whole video is like an hour long, but the very presentation people point me to itself implies that there could be Capcom approved mods. I know this because when I was making my whole video on this presentation months ago, I watched the entire 1 hour video to make sure I had all of the information. I even watched the Japanese version of this presentation and used my very basic understanding of Japanese to help me confirm this. I wanted to make sure it wasn't a translation error. No, they actually say there could be supported mods. The quote-unquote smoking gun everybody points to has evidence that says the exact opposite of what people think it says. I think people saw this mods are cheating line and just paused the video and started freaking out. Can I blame them? No, it's a very absurd statement made in a 1 hour video that nobody in their right mind is gonna watch, but I'm not in my right mind, so I watched it. Just letting you all know, that's what it says. Which leads us to why I titled this video the way that I did. Prepare to have your mind blown. Capcom does not have a problem with mods. They dislike mods that are problematic. I think everyone is misinterpreting the actions of Capcom of Japan. I mean, when they destroy your YouTube channel, I can't blame anyone for freaking the fuck out, but I don't think they mean any malice when they take these videos down. They're doing it to protect their fan base. And here's how I've come to this conclusion. There is a mod for specifically Monster Hunter Rise that allows you to create custom quests for the game, and it requires a special modded quest loader that interfaces with Prey Dog's RE framework to get it to work. Well, in September of 2022, Capcom put out a tweet warning players about modded Monster Hunter Rise quests and how to recognize them. The reason this happened is a modded Monster Hunter quest was able to invade vanilla players' games. And while the modded quest worked fine for the people who had the modded quest loader, it caused a lot of issues for the people who didn't. Wait a second, Rainin, how the hell are people playing the vanilla game downloading a mod by accident? It happens because of the very unique way that Monster Hunter handles a peer-to-peer connection. Every player connects to each other directly. There is no servers in between. This means that to play the same quest together, everyone has to download all of the details of that quest from the person who queued said quest. And because Monster Hunter Quest can alter so many different aspects of the game, Capcom has to relay more information to other players than you would normally expect. But when you're playing with a modded quest, not all of that data is carried over. And as a result, this can corrupt another player's save file. And let's be real here. If you've played Monster Hunter, you know that losing your save file can be like your biggest nightmare. There are people who put thousands upon thousands of hours into a single Monster Hunter save. And to join some random guy and instantly have your game fucked, I mean, that's a scary situation. It's a scary situation that could impact a lot of people. The mods that Team Darkside have used, which would be the fixed monster spawn and the Legia Cruise mod, are mods that could alter game data that may not get downloaded correctly for other players. As a matter of fact, the fixed monster spawn mod requires RE framework, the same tool needed for modded quests. Now, I highly doubt that Team Darkside is using these mods with random players online. Based on their posts, they seem well aware that doing so could cause damage to the community, and I applaud them for that. But I have to wonder if Capcom noticed these two mods gaining traction, and in an effort to protect their player base on PC, PC tried to take down the videos that pointed people on where to get them. Because remember, it was the mod links in the description that got Team Darkside the copyright strikes. Capcom of Japan is just trying to prevent another massive modding catastrophe in Monster Hunter Rise that puts their players at risk. And it all makes sense to me now. This is why no Resident Evil videos would be affected. This is why no Street Fighter videos would be affected. This is why no Monster Hunter World videos would be affected. This is a Rise exclusive problem because Monster Hunter Rise is the only peer-to-peer RE engine game that works in this unique way. And even if Capcom didn't give a shit about their fans, which I promise you they actually do, imagine someone who doesn't quite understand mods losing their save file in Monster Hunter. They might give Capcom technical support a ring, and they might just spend half an hour on the phone just trying to figure out what's wrong with this dude's save file, only to tell him that they can't really do anything about it. Customer support can get really expensive in the business world, and because of that, companies want to rely on it as least as possible. As a matter of fact, in that Capcom R&D presentation, Capcom very clearly outlines the downsides of supporting mods for their games and how it impacts their customer service infrastructure. If it's not from pure good intentions, maybe from a business perspective, taking down a few videos is worth the reputational damage, especially if it's so small that not that many people have heard of it. Now, we've determined that Capcom at the very least is doing this to lessen the load on customer service, but more likely doing this to protect their Monster Hunter player base. That doesn't make it cool that Capcom is doing this. Some of you guys are gonna avoid watching this whole video and call me a Capcom white knight for doing all this research and, explaining their actions, but the truth couldn't be any farther from that. Everything I've talked about in this video may explain why Capcom did something, but it does not justify it. I firmly believe that Capcom should have done this in a completely different way. They should have just prevented people who modify their game from playing with randoms online, because modding Monster Hunter is not a new thing. I have a confession, guys. I played modded Monster Hunter quests since Monster Hunter 4, and Capcom has been aware of this for just as long. Why Capcom doesn't implement some sort of basic filter for players using mods is beyond me, because as shown in this tweet, they've established a way to detect these already. Instead of making a PSA on Twitter and calling it a day, Capcom should have reinforced Monster Hunter Rise on the back end to filter these modded players out automatically. This isn't anything new. I've not only seen games figure out when they've been modded, I've seen Bethesda games do this. And I swear their programmers are making this shit on graphing calculators. Capcom, instead of biting your own hand that you're trying to feed your fans with, why not make it your responsibility to fix the cheating and modding that's taking place in your game? Instead of putting that burden on your own community and giving them nothing to work with. You're a big company. Get your fucking act together, Capcom of Japan. This is literally your biggest franchise, and your fans deserve better than this. And no, I'm not talking about Enigma. I almost had this video done until Capcom released this Resident Evil Revelations patch and got everyone's panties in a bunch over Enigma DRM. And would you believe this is an exact repeat of the copyright strike story? Something actually happens and then people misinform it into a completely different story. If you want to know more about the Enigma situation specifically, I give massive ups to Fluffy Quack, who actually did an entire dissection of it. But the short of it is, no, Enigma's been around for a while. It's actually been in Resident Evil 5 and nobody noticed. No, Enigma wasn't added to block modding. It never did block modding. And while I give it a little bit of a grain of salt, there's actually a Steam post page explaining why Revelations might have gotten it. Turns out some guy got insanely high raid mode scores. Capcom took the scores down because they thought it was cheated. Then he went and told other people how to get those scores, and yeah, other people tried it. They got weird scores. Capcom got all paranoid, and now they're worried people are cheating in Resident Evil Revelations. Again, take it with a grain of salt, but yeah, this does sound like a pretty viable reason as to why Revelations suddenly got it and why the patch seems like it was rushed. Notice how that brief explanation I gave had nothing to to do with mods. That's because Capcom doesn't really have a problem with them, and once again, I want to reaffirm this with this Enigma story. Sadly, what's also not new is Capcom making boneheaded decisions like this. Capcom of Japan is a masterclass of making themselves look as ridiculous as humanly fucking possible. This entire time, while everybody's been angry at them, Capcom could have clarified their stance. Instead of saying they were against mods, they could have said they were against cheating. Nobody would give a shit about this Capcom R&D presentation if Capcom made an official statement about modding, but they're not going to. Because for some reason, even though it's backfired on them so many times already, they think they can quietly solve the problem. But that's not going to work. Capcom needs to say something publicly, because when they don't, this entire situation you saw unfold before you is exactly what happens. Rant over.
Yes, yeah. Oh.
Now we know why, and we know how. The last remaining question is, who is Capcom going to target with these strikes? If you're a Capcom content creator like me, you can rest easy knowing your channel is just fine. If you make Monster Hunter Rise videos, I would take Team Darkside's advice and simply don't link the mods in your video description. You might even be able to get away with doing it in a pinned YouTube comment. If you make mod videos for literally any other Capcom game, I have seen zero evidence that Capcom of Japan will come after you. If you don't believe me, I made a Resident Evil 4 remake modding video that's been up for a month, and I've never gotten a strike for it, even though the mods I showcased drastically altered the gameplay of Resident Evil 4. I even cheated at mercenaries in this video using these mods. Capcom couldn't possibly find a better target to go after. And you know what else? I even included the mods in the description of the video, and still I have nothing from Capcom of Japan. And you might think, well, maybe Capcom just hasn't seen this video. Well, I have some funny news for you. Capcom is aware of my YouTube channel. They've actually been aware of me for a year. I never talked about this before because I never thought it was important. But in February of 2023, I've gotten into a minor copyright interaction with Capcom over footage that was in my Okami stream. It just so happened to be very similar to footage that Capcom used in a video, which got me an automated copyright claim. I filed an appeal for this, explaining that the footage was recorded by me and that I was playing the game on a live stream, and they actually got back to me and accepted my appeal. And since then, it's my understanding that a small group of people from Capcom USA have been checking in on my videos. Capcom is very well known for keeping a close eye on their fans. It's been observed before that they read message boards and watch YouTube videos about them. And you want to know what's even funnier? Ever since Capcom became aware of my channel, I've literally gone out of my way to intentionally break their video policy, just to show them how ridiculous I think some of them are, and I have never, not once, gotten any lashing out from Capcom. The reason I'm telling you this is because I want to show you firsthand that Capcom is not the tyrannical giant that the internet is making them out to be right now. Capcom absolutely loves their fans, even when those fans are very critical of them, like I am. And it's very possible Capcom is checking in on your channel too if you're also a Capcom creator. So I just want to say you have literally nothing to worry about. While I personally don't agree with how it's being done, at the very least, it's likely being done with good intentions behind it. And the way to not get caught in the crossfire is you simply don't link mods. And even then, that's only if you're talking about Monster Hunter Rise. I've had some of my viewers express concern with me that my channel might get hit by all this, and I just want to say that my channel shouldn't be going anywhere. I'm not changing a goddamn thing. We're still gonna do videos about Capcom modding because I know that's what many of y'all want to see. Now that you know the entire story, I have a few things that I want to get out there. Not only am I a little disappointed with Capcom of Japan, I'm a little disappointed with some Capcom fans, and especially the media, for making a bigger deal out of this than it actually is. I'm not upset at the people on Twitter who just say this shit, because truth be told, trusting anything you see on Twitter is a fool's errand. No, I'm upset at the media who took this story and ran with it instead of investigating it like I did. I saw an article about this that was just Super Rad Lemon's tweet, then misinformed speculation that implied this all happened over the Chun-Li nude mod, and literally nothing else. Zero mention of Team Darkside's YouTube post, which is funny because you want to know how I found out about Team Darkside's post? From Super Rad's tweet. If the person who wrote this literally bothered to scroll down just a bit, they would have had all of the same information that I did and at least came to a more informed conclusion. I don't care if people on the internet don't do their research. I mean, what am I, your mother? I'm not gonna nag my viewers on YouTube. But if your job is to bring information to the public and you're too lazy to scroll down on Twitter to bring that information to the public, find a different job. Holy shit. Bullshit like this is exactly why I'm not very fond of gaming journalism. 9 times out of 10, it's the most minimum effort clickbaity schlock I've ever seen in my life. And unfortunately, some people need to rely on these to stay in the loop. This beautifully wraps up this entire situation, actually. Everyone blamed this entire ordeal on the Chun-Li nude mod incident. They're based entirely on rumor and speculation. Rumor and speculation that didn't even need to exist. As a matter of fact, it only led to people getting even more confused. Here's a piece of advice that will get you out of so many shitty situations in life. If you don't know what's happening, it's perfectly fine to say that you don't know. Those words exist for a reason, because when we spread all this news about an event we don't even know happened or not, we wind up scaring people. That was the biggest reason I felt like I needed to make this video. I've seen numerous creators, whether it be small YouTube channels or people just putting together a simple fucking montage, talk about how they're gonna have to take their videos down just because they don't want to upset Capcom. And I was really sad to see that, because when I found that video, I already knew this whole thing was blown out of proportion. There are people who we convinced had a target pointed at them that wasn't there to begin with. So at the end of the day, here's what I hope everyone can take away from this lengthy video. No, Capcom does not hate mods. They've only ever tackled mods that legitimately threatened their business. No, this will not hurt your YouTube channel unless you talk about Monster Hunter Rise and you link mods in your video description. No, there is no anti-modding policy. And no, this is not a big deal. As always, take what you hear on the internet with a grain of salt and never be afraid to do your own research. But most importantly, here is one last big brap.wav, because I am very high and very drunk while making this. I promise you that. And that, my friends, concludes this peanut gallery of a video. If you liked it, hey, maybe check out my other Capcom modding videos. And also consider becoming a followy. What's a followy? Well, it's like a groupie following a rock star, but without the drugs and the sex. It's more fun than it sounds. You can become a followy by helping out Chun-Li with the subscribe button. And by the way, if you want to see a cool video I've made about Monster Hunter, boom, hell yeah, I'm a Monster Hunter speedrunner. Here's a video explaining how that happened. And I'm actually working on a sequel to this video right now. If you're in the market for a Discord server just for Capcom fans, why not give mine a try? We have very few rules and it's very relaxed there. I wanted to give an absolutely humongous ups to Kazuma13. They're regular on my channel and I would have never heard about this whole situation were it not for them. And I want to give an equally big ups to some of my other regulars like AG, Miguel, Snake, V1, all you guys who are here regularly, all of you guys who are in the Discord who I bounce ideas off of when I make these videos. Thank you guys so fucking much. And another big thank you for everyone who subscribed recently. We might as well do subscriber shout outs while we're out here. Big ups to legends like Peter Venkman, the Night Boy, Tiger Tank Ghost 275, Dragon of Fire, Cray Bullius, Poignant Knight 51, Richard Storm, oh my god, you're trolling me. Nero 149, Doc Emmett Brown, and Soul Hunter 7, Some Nobody, and Kingdom Hearts Gamer. Thank you all so fucking much, guys. But most importantly, everyone, relax and have yourselves a good one. Peace.